fee?
Free. Well, that was a close call. I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's 6:35 p.m. And we do now have a quorum of 7 members present. I know Christina Sazio contacted me. She's not going to make it. Greg Pelosi, Greg Harrigan, Phil Hall, and Peter Crockett. So I'm aware of those 4. So, and we have the rest. Thank you very much for coming. I was getting nervous.
Sorry.
I was visiting with them at the. Okay. So we do have a quorum present. Next order of business is approval of minutes from August 20th.
Do you have to go looking?
Oh, I'm sorry, I have it up on here.
Oh, okay, I just didn't see it. So-
Yeah, I can put it back.
But all voting members are in the room.
Right.
Right,
We
but it's still
never had
advertised.
Oh, yeah.
Are you still advertising it?
You won't have to stare at the statue ceiling.
This is being recorded, just a reminder. All right, like I said, this is a virtual, a hybrid, I should say, and so it is recording. But all the voting members are present. No, so yeah, I'll need a motion for the approval of minutes. Thank you from Greg Pelosi. I'll second by Mark Kulos. Any additions, corrections, or deletions? I think Peter sent you some stuff.
It's in the version.
Okay.
Yeah,
Super,
it's
great.
for- Yes.
Yes. Super.
Thank you.
So, are there any other additions or corrections? Yeah, not Peter. It's very meticulous. God bless him. Hearing none, we'll go around the table. Markulos on the minutes.
Yes, but since may I suggest, since all the voting members are present here in this room, can we just do the,
I
You
think
do all
I
approve?
think I still have to do a roll
You
call.
do, you do, yes.
Hybrid meeting.
hybrid? Okay, all right, yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Mark, yes. Greg?
Yes.
Sheila?
Stacy.
Stacy? No, there's
I
another-
didn't have to-
We're gonna get there. Stacy?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
All right. It's unanimous of those present and voting. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? I don't see any regular public. All right. CSG.
Alrighty, state payment request number 2 has been approved, and I may have pulled the trigger a little too quick. It looks like it hasn't been paid. I just checked it now. Both of them were approved, so the payment should be coming in shortly on those. Construction document phase is ongoing. Final construction document package will be completed on October 4th. At that time, the documents that will be estimated and reconciled. After the update in the budget for the standing project, there's a proposal in the package for pipe locating and camera services for consideration. This is just a little bit of work that we needed, or that the design team needs in order to locate a storm drain line over by the portable classrooms as you come around the building, and a pipe that leads into Fort Brook, just to understand the condition of it and to see if it's capable of being tied into and the amount of work that will be required to do that. The next state payment request, which will be number 3, will be prepared following the payment of the invoices approved at this meeting. The reason that we didn't submit another one was because all it would have captured would have been the 3 or 4 invoices that were approved at last month's building committee meeting. So I think the 2-month schedule will work until we get into construction, and then at that time we'll probably go month to month on the payment request, because there'll be a higher dollar value. If I had submitted it now, it would have been like approximately 200,000 thereabouts. And I'll have it prepared as soon as these invoices get paid by the city, which usually takes about a week, and get double the amount that we'll request. Site logistics analysis of the construction for the project is being developed by Downs. We're anticipating having a preliminary plan for site logistics submitted by the end of next week. A request for structural peer review services has been issued to engineering firms. The thought was that we would utilize some of the unspent allowance that CSG has in the contract for the multi-vista services. We are working on a contract amendment just to move the allowance value outside of the contract, outside of the scheduled of values so we can properly track it. That's being reviewed internally at CSG, and as soon as that's reviewed, I'll get those over to you guys for signature.
This would be one per project.
Yeah.
Because we have 3 separate
Yeah.
contracts.
Mhm.
All right, go ahead.
And then, as an attention point, the logistics of opening this building have not yet been determined. As the project progresses, the distribution of students and logistics of the move through the new buildings will need to be analyzed to understand who will be moving to the new buildings from where. That's going to become relatively important as we move forward, just to understand logistics. There is some time to look at that plan, but
Well, especially if you're planning on demolishing Uncas.
right.
You know,
Again, all of that's gonna need to be looked at closer detail. And once we get the site logistics and an updated schedule from Downs, I think we'll be in a better position to, look at when the buildings are gonna be turned over. And when they'll be ready for occupancy. So, just something that I wanted to keep on the attention points, because I don't want it to get lost as we move forward, that we do need to have an understanding as to what students are gonna go where. I don't know how that effort's gonna be coordinated by the city and the Board of Education, or how that's gonna happen. But it, just,
Obviously, the timetable is gonna have an impact with that. so,
Right. right.
You have a better idea. what's going on.
yeah, well, the time for new order of construction and what.
Yep.
I mean, the concept, at least for me, was always to utilize the new school. That's why it's first on the agenda, for me.
Yeah.
Try to, move that out.
Right.
So we'll pick up a couple hundred seats in Stanton too, but I think we'll be able to move some people around. But the logistics of that are going to be a significant challenge for.
Because I don't want to
For
move,
administrative staff, so.
every 6 months or every year,
Yeah,
move
no,
students
yeah,
around.
we can avoid that.
And, to further that, right, if you're gonna be moving teachers from 7 schools down to 4, it's a multifaceted move, meaning typically it's one building to the new building versus 7 buildings that are gonna feed now in 4.
And then you're gonna have to be moving supplies and
Well,
whatnot.
that's
all
that
all part of it.
Right,
office files and
correct.
whatnot.
That I'm not as concerned about. It's more of the students. who's
Right.
Moving where.
And-
Yeah, they
And
were.
then it has to be coordinated
Again,
with busing schedules too.
Right, and again, you want to try to do that, like you said, once, so that way you don't have kids going to different schools.
Once or.
I mean, some possibilities
Well,
with the
on
Moriarty,
this
I think the Moriarty
that
site
end
was
date that end date is a total project.
multiple.
Yeah.
It's essentially more or less one. It's a 2026 opening.
Yeah.
But the project.
On an
is-
annual basis. For 2 years.
If you look at the Greenville schedule.
That's why,
gave of when
that's
the
why
building
I'm
was gonna
gonna look
open.
at in terms of possibly not having to do.
And that should be okay.
Alright.
It's it should be like.
Well, obviously that'll have to be done in coordination with the Board of Ed and, in the staff and then the
Board of Ed, we're
superintendent
looking at
staff.
Board of Ed to do that. That's really gonna be, that's essentially.
Just so-
the big issue.
All right, we've got some cross.
From
So let's, yeah, I'm the worst one for that, so it's.
Sorry about that.
No, don't be sorry, because like I said. Back on the crosstalk, but Jim was just saying that obviously the effort regarding where everybody's got to be, and so it's got to be led by the superintendent per people and Board of Ed. So those discussions will, as soon as we got start to firm up a timetable, you know, those discussions are going to need to happen. But initially, I think they also know, I know Susan knows that this is going to be coming, so hopefully we can come up with a plan that will work for everyone. There's obviously going to be some inconvenience and things like that going on, so there'll be some challenges. I don't get a better idea, so we'll try to, I'm sure we can make it work.
And just so everyone knows, the structural peer review services that we're looking to get is a state requirement to have an independent firm analyze the structural drawings of the project. We went out to I went out to 3 firms that we've used in the past for structural engineering or peer reviews similar to this that have all been successful. I sent everyone an email, I copied Bob on it, and then when the proposals ultimately come in, I'll give you all the proposals and then a sheet that gives you the amounts that they all provided to us, and then the thought process would be that we would use again allowance value for each of the projects to pay for those services and keep it both the contract for those structural peer reviewers.
So what action would you need from us tonight?
Well, the action that I would need tonight would be with regards to the proposal for the pipe, the video inspection survey proposal that's attached to this. The contractor provided an amount of $1,500 to do the work, and then with a 15% markup, it ends up at $1,725 was the number. I'll send you formal paperwork once it's reviewed for signature. But if I get an approval tonight from you folks on the 1725, I'll set the guy up to get that work done to expedite with the designer are looking for.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
you have to add that.
It wouldn't be, you wouldn't be approving an invoice for it until the work's completed, so you're just approving the amount. It'll be included after, when we get an invoice from them, either next month or the following month, and it would be included in the billing schedule.
We just authorize them.
Yes.
That's what
It's just
Yeah.
nice.
it's not a reading.
And if anyone's interested, there is a sketch at the end of the proposal delineating what line for what.
Wow.
It's kind of tiny.
Kind of tiny.
So you have the proposed contract in there.
I can see.
I know it's a drawing.
Yeah.
Can I borrow some of your glasses?
I will say that I spoke to the contractor today to make sure that the scope of what we're looking for was clear to them, so that there's no surprises when they get out in the field as to what they're doing. So, you know, they did similar, provided similar services on another project.
Steel culvert.
And then there's a storm drain with the arrows to the right of the page, I believe that we're looking at.
And then you have all the existing NPU conduits and lines and whatnot all mapped out already, or?
Yeah, I believe Jim would be better at answering that, but I believe that was all picked up. The NPU routing of the sewer lines and any of the utilities coming in, we definitely picked that up.
Yeah, they have the major
Yeah.
pieces. These were a couple of structures that were identified. They were basically covered out.
I've also requested from council.
Yeah, I do. Finish it up.
All right, I've also requested from council action regarding creating the enterprise zones for schools, to deal with the sewer assessment issues and stuff.
Yeah,
That
that
complement.
request, your, followed up your request about the sewer connection free language and all that to the park.
Yeah,
You and us speak.
yeah, so we'll, for that, hopefully we'll get that. I mean, it's not 911, but we'll get it taken care of, so you know, we'll be in the good graces with MPE. Go ahead.
Basically all the same updates for Greenville with the.
Oh, you got a question?
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah. So anticipated start of construction
March at this point,
of 2025.
yes.
Okay. Then I have a request that we not use dark colors. It's hard to read. Highlight. On the next page,
Headers,
the headers don't use dark colors. Use lighter colors.
But-
Here, you got blue,
Oh,
green,
oh,
white.
that, unfortunately, that's a generated color from the project management software that we use.
Oh,
And
okay. It's just,
I'm unable to
Is-
change
is
that.
there a way to make the numbers of the letters darker?
So basically a screen comes up that gives me this budget snapshot and then I take a screenshot of it and insert it into the document. I can try printing in black and white and see if that works better, but it may be limited as to how much
Okay, all right.
I can do.
Next question is this video inspection survey
Yeah.
proposal in layman's terms.
Yep.
Can you explain?
Yes, so
What it's done, what we're doing, why?
So basically what there's one line that comes from a catch basin that we don't know exactly where the routing goes. So there's a storm drain and then the structure goes into the ground and there's a pipe coming out of the structure. And we don't know exactly where the structure leads to. So essentially what the company does is they bring in a camera that has a locator on it. There'll be a guy on the surface scanning with a scanning tool, similar to a metal detector, that'll pick up the signal coming from the camera or locator within the piping. And they'll hear where it's running, and then they'll be able to stick a flag to delineate to us where that pipe actually runs. So,
Okay,
and then, there's also a drain that leads into Ford Brook. And the same locator has a camera and a light on the end of it. So they'll run the camera through the pipe. As the cameras run through the pipe, it'll take a video of the walls of the inside of the pipe. If there's a clog or an obstruction, it won't be able to go through, and then you'll be able to see obstruction. And really what we're looking for is the condition of the pipe to make sure it's in stable condition to be able to tie into it. And by doing this effort now and spending the 1,500, what it would do is if the camera determines that the pipe isn't suitable for use, we would then include the replacement of that pipe within the construction drawings. And it would avoid a potential change order that could be created by the fact that the pipe is unstable and not able to be tied into once the actual construction.
so you're not concerned about where it's messing, I'm not saying this right. The main concern is not where it's ending at, that there is, other than there could be an obstruction, but you're not trying to determine where the piping is ending as it has some type of material impact versus the piping itself. What you're looking at,
In one case, we're unsure of where the storm drain pipe goes.
okay,
So we're trying to determine
okay.
where that one actually goes. And then in the other case, we're trying to determine if the pipe is in good enough condition for reuse as it relates to the inlet and the Ford Brook.
Okay, so for the minutes, to
Yes.
make it simple, can you just send those two things to Kathy? To make or the secretary.
Yes.
In the minutes,
Yes,
in layman's terms.
yes.
Cheaper now than later.
It's always cheaper now than
Right,
later.
no.
Well, not only is it cheaper now than later, but if we know now, it can be included in the scope of work and it will be bid on versus being a change order where it will be outside of the bid, yes.
And then you also want to check and make sure that sewers aren't involved connecting into that storm drain.
And I can't
Yeah,
take,
it's not like you never did
I
that.
can't take any credit for this. This is Jim and his team that
Especially 60
discovered
years
this and the
ago.
idea that they want
you
to
just did sort of-
investigate it further to
Yeah.
ensure that it's something that can be done.
So before we move on to Greenwood, did you want the motion
Yes,
now
yes,
to
please.
authorize?
Authorize the expenditure, but we're not approving the expenditure until we get.
Right, to authorize the
Authorize CSG to move forward
the
Yeah,
inspection, whatever.
for the video inspection survey at the stand. Is that a motion?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Second by Stacy. Any discussion on Yeah, I know.
And
Thank
do we
you.
have to
And
put-
another thing.
do we have to put the amount in there, 1750?
1725.
1725. Yeah, yeah, just add that to. This.
Yeah, it's a funding, yes.
1725. All right, Mark Kulos.
Yes.
Yes.
Joe DeLucia.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Greg?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes,
Cindy?
Yes.
Yeah, I got it right now. All right. It's only been 2 or 3 years. All right, you got anything else?
Budget update for, Stanton. We've, at this point, we've expended $1,795,526.68. And that's before the invoices that'll be approved. Moving on to Greenville, all the project updates are the same. State payment request 2 has been submitted. Construction document phase is ongoing. Package will be completed on October 4th. Next state payment request number 3 will be prepared following the payment of the invoices approved at tonight's building committee meeting. Site logistics analysis of the construction for the project being developed by Downs, and then a request for structural peer review services been issued to engineering firms. And again, the logistics to move are important. Moving to the budget at Greenville, we've expended $1,819,402.15. Moving on to the Moriarty project, the submission deadline for the architect RFP for this project passed. The city received 10 submissions from interested firms. MP's planning group has been issued a purchase order for the demographic update. Work is ongoing for the effort. We did receive some enrollment numbers from the district that are being utilized, and as we previously mentioned at the previous building committee meetings, the final October state approved enrollment figures will be needed separately. I believe those come out around October 1st.
I think that's the snapshot.
Yes, yeah. Upcoming activities, architect scoring rubrics have been received from the building committee members. A summary has been generated for discussion, and a schedule for interviews needs to be determined. And I know that there's
We'll have an executive
an
session.
agenda item.
I said it to the meeting.
Same exact update for the Youngest project. 10 submissions were received by the city's purchasing department. MP planning group again is working on the FDA demographic report, and architect scoring rubrics have been submitted and have a summary sheet. The teachers update, and likely more or less this may come off the update going forward until CSU is not under contract for this project. Basically the next milestone for this is that a determination of which direction the city would like to proceed with, either a renovation as new or a new building will need to be determined or established likely by March of 2025 in order to get all the information together to submit a grant application.
Yeah, just be careful. Yeah, I think Mark should give us enough time. The reason I say that is because if we are going to do the renovation as new, we have to have that renovation status accompany the submission for the.
Yeah, I would.
And it takes.
I honestly believe that probably.
In case you go that way, I want to make sure we leave enough time for an architectural firm to come in and do that renovation status, because there's a lot to it. So it does take time. So I would suggest, 1st of March, that we make either end of February.
Figure out.
Figure out.
It would be a lot of work to make it ADA compliant, first of all.
Well, yeah, but again, just to submit the grant application, we have to submit the renovation status, and that's a lot of work.
All right.
And
Joe?
So I was under the impression that because of the issue that Jim and Greg had, have already looked at over there, that the potential, the very real potential existed that renovating this new would end up being more expensive than building a new building.
we re-benchmarked that. you know, and at the last meeting, I provided a table that showed you how the reimbursement would work based on the size of the existing building, what we need. And it's, I think it came out, and I don't have the table in front of me, but I can pull it up pretty quickly. It was within $2 million. And when you look at state reimbursement, it gets even swayed even further because the fact that there would be a space standard reduction by renovating a building that's larger than what we need, given the numbers that we have now, it makes even more sense potentially going new. You know, and I know,
Depending what we wind up with.
I know Jim's firm did quite an analysis on that, and, you know, the estimate, and I think one of the reasons that we proceeded with doing an analysis both ways was that the estimate that was carried within the master plan was for a renovation project as new versus a new project. So we were trying to keep it apples to apples, and then added the cost of a new building in there just based on the new findings relating to enrollment. And then we did that analysis just to prove out what the cost would actually be, just to show you folks that, you know, it's almost trivial to renovate the building as new versus going home new, given the constraints and the items that Jim's firm picked up when they looked.
That'll all be part of that bigger discussion. We have to make that final.
Right. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, but I think as of now, it was the cost, the final cost to taxpayers of Norwich to renovate was gonna be more than building new ones.
Yeah.
I can.
It's all right.
No, yeah,
That's
because you made a fair point that, you know, that the reimbursement schedule is really the biggest part of that.
Yeah.
Decision.
Yeah.
Jill?
Right, so mine is not a question, it's a reminder, and you may already have it marked in your notes, but to remind us, to remind you that the touch base with some of the Austin and the validation that we have to
The next
submit
term.
this year for these three, to get the reimbursement, right?
Yeah, the next two.
Yes.
Yes.
I thought we were gonna do all
Well,
three.
all three,
We're gonna
she
do
wants to do all three.
Well, that was my understanding.
Yeah.
Is because we,
She got some pushback. Whatever she got.
say we're gonna request all.
Yeah.
Is what my thing.
Right.
is
And you
what-
may want to request all.
Well,
if they're willing to
We
do it.
include
percent.
central office.
Yeah. Central office would have the biggest impact based on
Because it's only 50%.
50% of 67%.
But at least
Yeah.
make sure that it's on this
Okay.
agenda.
Unless the rate changes.
No, you're right. That's that one. All right, anything else?
No, that's the.
I have a question. I don't know if we ever looked at, or I may have asked this question before. Was radon ever an issue in any of the construction here?
Yes, our engineers, MEPs, take a look at the radon mapping for the district. Basically, the infrastructure is set in place so that if in fact it's tested and needed, we'll be able to put in the equipment in this area to prevent against it.
Okay, because that has to go in at foundation level.
We're going in now as part of the construction documentation, and it's simply the infrastructure, it's simply the pits and the piping that are associated.
That's typically one of the first things that the state members look at.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna bring up. Share. All right. Get this right. Let's go. Here.
meeting on and start showing up with foam floorboards and printout.
Yeah.
That old school.
That's when you.
All right, Jim, you're up. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay, pretty concise and quick, report insofar as we have just been really heads down on CDs. As Mike mentioned, they're due October 4th. As we go through this process, we, keep finding new things to dig into. I want to draw two to your attention. So if you go to the next, it's the first one here. This is the Greenville Boswell entry roadway. And that's this zone. So it's the roadway that leads from Boswell Avenue into the north side of the site. This approach is the approach that we had identified in schematic design and design development. So we're going to focus in on that area. If you go into the next slide, and this is the documentation that was part of the design development. So we have a right turn in, and it was a straight shot in. It required retaining on either side of the roadway. Of note, it's about a 10% slope through some portion of it, but they do get it back to like 5 pretty quickly as you get to the bottom and nearing the top.
Will they need skis in the wintertime?
No, but it's not a roadway, typically we're going to want to flatten that as much as we can. It's the topography of the site. So if you go to the next slide, this overlay sketch was sent to me a couple months ago by Dave Dixon. And what he was exploring, if we, rather than take it in as a straight shot and wind it in, we'll still need a retaining wall on the upper side. Down here, it was questionable, and I'll get to that in a moment. But the other thing that this does, we specifically identified no walkway through this to get up here because of that pitch and because of the ADA requirement for that. And the fact that it leads to no system kind of as you get out to Boswell.
There's no sidewalks.
No, sir. And that was reviewed at planning and zoning and was approved minus this. Just in terms of anticipating potential problem or issue, we have had conversations at OGA where we'll be asked, what about the sidewalk to this edge perimeter of site? And we just wanted to have something available to us, should it be asked, to be able to have conversation, at least get to the numbers and get to what it would take to make that happen. But
There'll be a sidewalk on the other side.
there, on Golden,
Yeah.
yes, and actually, we're gonna go down there in a minute, so I'll show you what we have there. But this red portion is all sidewalk that we do not show in the base document, and we will not show, and we'll go into OGA with that. We just wanted to be able to have something, should we be asked, what would be the response? This would all have to be done as ADA ramps instead of slope sidewalk. I mean, we're at that kind of pitch.
That's
So
why the cuts.
the turns come to these are individual kind of landing platforms, so it's a significant undertaking to make all of that happen. And as I said, ultimately leads to, a roadway, which I don't think you want to encourage that kind of foot traffic.
Bridge to nowhere.
If
Yeah,
you-
because that ledge comes right to the curb.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. If you go to the next slide, this is the document as it stands now. So this is our construction documentation. So we've taken the roadway and we've put the bend in it. We've gotten rid of the straight cut. We do still have the retainage on the west side of this. This portion of wall that was shown initially would not be needed, but we do have cuts in here. So, I mean, there's a trade-off between are you building a wall or a cut? But the overall experience of this driveway, we feel would be an improved experience in terms of driving in, not being within kind of.
And adding the curve also lengthens it, which lowers the slope just a little
Yeah, a
bit.
little bit. Yep. So that's our approach going into OGA. I wanted to share it with this group. This is the type of thing that ultimately we will have to review, I believe, with P and Z because it is a change from the straight shot that was shown, but there's a logic to it, and we feel it's something that we can defend and speak to when it comes time. But I wanted to make this group aware of it in advance.
And we did reach out to planning and zoning to try and get another meeting just to vet this out with them to see what their requirements would be, if any, to make this change.
Yeah, we feel on this particular issue, we don't anticipate any issue that P and Z would have, and it may be an administrative review more than anything.
From Boswell.
This is Boswell up here. So yeah, this is the north side.
You can only get in,
Traveling,
that's the upper part of the document.
right. So if you are
From Hickory
travel-
Street.
let's see, or you're traveling east along this, you have a right-hand turn in. As you exit the site, it does have a controlled exit, a light. So you do have the opportunity for a controlled left turn, controlled right turn.
But no left turn into,
No, no. And that's
yeah,
partly because of the incline of the hill, the vision that you have moving over the hill, and the width of the roadway. You mentioned the rock on this side. On this side, it's a series of walls that are basically at the street. It would be into nearby properties.
yeah, and you're coming out of a curve and entering into a curve when you're traveling in that direction.
Yep,
This is only for cars, the buses are down below it.
correct.
Okay.
Although a bus can manage this.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was designed as such, in case
For the
bus
gymnasium.
traffic came here, but we do, for school use, Golden Street is the entrance for the buses.
And then the state already knows about that light.
Well, it is not a state roadway, it's town, so this review would be through Norwich. There has been some conversation with our engineers, and I've shared that with CSG. There may have to be an acknowledgement to the state, but the state doesn't have oversight of it, but that's fortunately not a numbered roadway.
All right,
If you can take us to the next,
Basically, so it would clearly be there that this is vehicle traffic only.
Well, it can take a bus, it just.
correct.
Well, right, what I mean is, okay, so no pedestrian, let me do it the other way, no pedestrian.
If it was the decision of the public schools to do so, sure, you can label it that
Well,
way.
huh?
Sidewalk.
Right, that's why
We don't
it's,
want to be encouraging people to be walking on
That's what
Boswell
I'm
Avenue.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's no sidewalk.
right, that's.
There's no sidewalk there.
Is that,
And if your parent is bringing you or someone is bringing you to school, we don't want them dropping you off at the top. We want them to come all the way down, drop you off and leave.
We do signs for that, thing saying, parent drop off. Notify them already for that.
Okay.
Parent drop off.
Okay.
hey, one at a time, please.
Wait,
I was just trying to ask, would there be something, a sign, to indicate?
We have a signage package available. We can determine the language necessary to make this act in a way that administration wants to take it forward. And it may include that verbiage.
so, but here's, again, the reality of the situation. You're a kid that lives on Boswell Avenue. There is a sidewalk on the other side of the street.
Up in this zone, not all the way across.
Okay, yeah, because I drive by there all the time and I try to make mental notes, but I couldn't remember if there's a sidewalk
From
Directly
Hickory-
across the
no,
street.
From Hickory Street up,
Right,
there is
okay,
now.
all right, that's.
You are correct. If you go further to the west,
Hmm.
you do have some sidewalk up there.
Because the committee members know, because we made the paper again and the news again, right? Over the distances that away from a school that the kids live, where they have to walk, they don't get picked up by a bus. And if you live on Boswell Avenue, right? So this plan without a sidewalk, without adding sidewalks, I'm not advocating that, I'm just saying, if that's a condition for this entrance, and you're saying, all right, well, everybody should go down to the Golden Street. Problem is that there is no sidewalk on Hickory Street from the Boswell Avenue intersection all the way down. You gotta get almost to the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
This is sidewalk,
No, this is sidewalk.
this is sidewalk.
It goes right by my property.
From Hickory to Golden.
On what side of the street?
It's on the.
It's on the right side as you're going up.
Yeah,
The right side going up.
There's a sidewalk all the way up.
Past the
Because
condo?
because halfway down on Greg Grippo's side, there's a sidewalk that ends. 'cause
Right there,
there's a-
right.
I own the property.
Because
I
land
know there's a
comes-
sidewalk there.
Okay,
I believe him.
Yeah, there's a continuous from Golden Street up to Hickory.
Well, from Central Ave, actually, it goes all the way up.
Right, I'm just trying to get to the school.
Yes. All right. Yeah.
This is a recap of it, just showing the roadway configuration, the wall that would be reduced, and the fact that what's shown in red, if we acted on it, they would be ADA ramping.
Would there be savings involved, or would that be soaked up by adding some distance to the road?
No, we're not sure of the actual kind of yield. There's going to be more cutting here, so that'll be costly. And then the trade-off is you're not building kind of wall.
And less of an incline, be easier to plow too.
Oh, no, I'm not speaking. I don't think we want to be seen.
So if we get the next piece is the Greenville bus drop off. This work, if you go to this site, it's located, so we were just talking about this entry at the north of the property. Now at the south of the property, the Golden Street entrance, and the area that our engineers have been kind of really wrangling with is this zone right here. And particularly this intersection as it is had a pretty good incline to it. It wasn't something that was beyond engineering practice, but they felt if they could flatten it, we'd have a better job. So if you go to the next, this is an overlay sketch and difficult to see, but the very light line here is what was there, and the darker lines are the proposed reconfiguration. We move from angled parking, which you see here in the light, to 90-degree parking. He's able to get more in with the 90-degree parking. We had some angled parking in this zone previously. He's now replicating them with parallel parking down in that area. But as I said, the real driver in this was this intersection, trying to flatten it out as much as possible. Go to the next slide. I believe I did a side-by-side comparison. I did get them right. Okay. Design development, angled parking, 3 banks. And this is double stacking of buses, which is consistent in both. So you have a double stacked bus up to this point, and then they one by one kind of pull out and come up and drop off or pick up. In this configuration, 3 banks of parking, one of them being the parallel parking. Each of them has this zone for special education drop off, and that was a requirement and a request of administration to ensure that those students had the time needed to be able to park the bus, because it takes a bit more time and not have them in the flow of moving traffic. if you go to the next, I think I did a final recap. There it is. This was the zone that they were really looking to improve the grades of the roadway. One of the outcomes by flattening this zone through here, we get more opportunity for plantings in this zone. What that does is from this entry point, there was a really strong view line into the kind of loading dock, dumpster area, that type of thing. This gives us a chance to buffer that a bit more with some additional planting. I did note that this approach does require some parallel parking. As Mike noted, through his office, we reached out to planning and zoning to just have an initial conversation about this, see if they're in agreement, and see what next steps might be needed, if any, how it might be handled best. So again, wanting to bring these in front of you because it's slight modification, but I think important modifications to help kind of improve the project.
One EV charging station?
No,
Typical of 5.
Oh, okay.
CEV charging
Okay,
station.
all right.
I think it's 20% of all the parking spaces is the new
yes.
state
Oh,
requirement.
really?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
it is. It's a big number.
Last year you were able to get away with infrastructure. But now the legislation's been changed that you have to install 20%.
It's a significant ask.
It changes a lot.
So if you go to the next slide, just as I said, our focus has been head down, and we are having weekly meetings with our full team. We have individual meetings with the different disciplines. So it's 2 meetings a week with our team and our consultants, one being a full team meeting, the other being individual conversations with structural engineer, mechanical, so on and so forth. They've been really beneficial in terms of trying to squeeze out the areas where we have issues in the construction documents in terms of coordination. But that's ongoing, and that's where our focus has been. Our next step, once we deliver on October 4th, we'll start refocusing on the OGA outreach. We've reached out to have conversation. This is the first kind of round of anybody going through where we only have the one meeting at the plan completion test. We're verifying what's needed in terms of checklists, how we're going to go about it, so on and so forth.
I'm a little paranoid with the new process personally, so I mean, what's going to be the turnover on that?
I think this is my second or third new process. I've really built. Have you been through?
We're waiting.
Well, you're doing Norwich now, right? You finishing up?
Greenwich,
Oh,
we're trying to get that, we had our PCR meeting on August 8th and still don't. Yeah, it's
Yeah, I bet.
it's real, it depends on the review. Depends on who you get.
Yeah, Bob?
No.
So you're looking at maybe 3-4 months.
Oh, no,
No,
hopefully
no,
not.
I don't think that.
Well, you're already in,
We're a
next
month and a
week
half-
will already be the second month, basically.
month and a half right now.
You're trying to go out to bid in December, huh?
There's also.
No, we're going out the bid. Well, no, we're going out the bid in January.
January?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The other thing to understand is that that project also has specific requirements that have held things up a little bit
Yeah.
that likely we may not have here.
Having a lot of sole source requests. I mean, it's normal to have sole source request meeting. We want specific hardware or team and lock sets. We want specific fire alarm.
Yeah, I want.
They had a lot of specific requests.
Oh, really?
and
Certain
that's what-
types.
Certain types, and
Really?
that's kind of what's taking so long.
So I just wanted to share with everybody kind of that focus. We're beginning the outreach to be able to get the checklists organized, get them established, make sure we're working on the ones that are considered most current, and have that ready to go for mid-November. And then lastly, I know at our last meeting, we had a chance to share kind of some walkthrough information, but if you just hold, yeah, that's all right. That's, it was just simply the idea that, we have been going through the building architecturally. Susan and her team from, school administration have been basically helping us in terms of ensuring that we've captured the needs for the various types of spaces. We're getting sign offs on them. I apologize. I put everything in there. And the next step in that is basically FF&E, this last one here, furniture, fixture and equipment documentation. That will go into the state as its own and separate submission. It's a phase. But that's our next step where our team will start sitting again with administration and the various user groups and having specific furnishings affirmed and committed, identified and committed. So we're in the throes of kind of shaping up our architectural drawings and that'll follow soon after. That's what we had here.
So as of right now, would I be wrong to say you're on schedule?
We are on schedule. We are on schedule.
So that flattening of that lower area, that's also going to help with the storm water flow and the possible ponding.
Well, we should not have any in either iteration. We should not have any ponding, and in terms of flow, no more stormwater should exit the site than exits today at the flow rate. So this is really an opportunity to improve, and it's the exiting as you come around this right-hand turn, trying to flatten out those. You can see them in here. They were pretty tightly knit together, so it's a bit steeper than our civil engineer was totally comfortable with. And I think they have a good approach here that'll help us get that area taken care of, but also address some of the other items in the site.
And do we require water retention ponds to the site?
We do, excuse me. We have a wetland creation up in this zone, and that's replication. There is also some detention right in that area. Those were, I don't have, well, I do have them if need be, but that was the general area for that work.
Yeah, I think we talked about briefly whether or not we may have need to fence something off there.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I think we'll have to do it.
Jim, did you want to have any discussion on the traffic signalization allowance usage at all?
Sure.
Yeah.
Actually,
So we can get that approved. I'm
this
sorry.
would be a good one to take it on. So what Mike is speaking of, there is a required signalization, so that's an off-site improvement. That's something the state, from their standpoint, they see the property line as the extents of this. But the signalization is a requirement. It is what we were able to work through with planning and zoning. If you go to the next slide.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
And actually, let's go two more, one and one, hold right there. So there will be a signal here. It will have obviously control of the traffic on Boswell. There will also be a flasher up further up because of the cresting in the hill, just to make people aware of the signalized intersection. The question earlier about left-hand turn in, given the roadway width, given the view distances, there was no safe way to get that turn and create a third lane in the throat of the roadway without really encroaching on nearby properties. So this was seen as the one way in and then exiting, having the opportunity to turn left or right through a signalized intersection.
But the cost of that signalization is going to be outside of the project.
It's outside of the reimbursement for the
Oh, okay,
project.
but it would be included in the bid.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, our cost estimators have been carrying a number throughout cost estimation for the signalization.
What's that, Ron?
Order of magnitude, several $100,000.
So you're gonna,
And what is being requested right now is to utilize the traffic in our contract. There were a series of allowances that were established by CSG for various scopes of work. One of them was traffic documentation. At Stanton, we really had no use for it. On the documentation side, we did do a study at Stanton. I think that was for about 25,000. Thank you. And here at Greenville, we did a study as well that used about 30,000, and that was all on the upfront side. But then there's a separate allowance, and that's for design considerations like this that are offsite. Taken in total, there's a slight kind of overage. And our hope is that we'll be able to work within the other allowance kind of factors to be able to see our way clear.
so for OSG review, are they gonna need the approvals in place for that traffic signal?
We typically would want to have it as far along as possible.
Because you're talking mid-November, right? You're
Yes.
talking 2 months from today.
Peter, the chief approved that or chief approved that?
I don't know, that's.
I don't,
He's the
did it
traffic
make it to
authority.
the chief of police? I know
What's that?
did it make it to the chief of police? I can't remember. if it did.
In Norwich, he's the traffic.
Yeah, I know he had reviewed this in concept and he put a traffic counter out there at one point to assist us. So I think it won't be, definitely won't be a new topic that he hasn't heard of yet. I know we did introduce the concept to him, but we may not have. At that time, I don't know that we had definitively pinned down that we needed the signal. Or did we?
We did
Okay.
prior to
Okay.
planning and zoning submission because that was the
Yeah,
kind of there was a variety of options
Right.
to explore.
okay,
And that was part of that first study,
Yeah.
was trying to figure out which one made most sense, and ultimately traffic signalization
Yeah.
was the no.
so
Of all
it
the
did, yeah, it
easiest.
it was on the drawing set for planning and zoning,
It was.
so.
Yeah.
And then you have the option of it being an active signal morning and afternoon and then flash or throughout the day.
Yeah, they
It's
can,
possible.
they can program it.
Right, yeah, it can be programmed however it needs to be.
Okay. Anything else?
That is all from us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He said he had $3.
Nothing else.
So-
Remember when those things used to be six?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just
I was
didn't want to stop. They shut it down.
All right, Jeff, I don't know if Downs has got anything to make, so I don't have anybody here in the room.
Yeah, good evening. Not to repeat what Mike has already said, but we're going to have a logistics plan for both projects to share for next Friday. And of course, that will further develop after we receive the construction documents that we're patiently awaiting for on the 4th and getting into the construction document estimate and looking to achieve those PCT dates that Jim had talked about a moment ago. But that's it at this point.
Okay. You're always easy, thank you. At least at this point, until we put a shovel in the ground.
You're welcome. Yeah, there'll be plenty of time for us.
The chief just got back to me, he said, no, said sight lines and traffic counts are concerning. He has not signed off on it.
Right.
Those are the two issues.
Okay, well,
So do we have to ask for?
we'll have to,
A motion, what I'm saying, do we have to make a motion?
No,
to
no.
request?
What we'll do is we'll, in coordination with DRA, will reach out. to We have all the information.
I just,
It's been, I don't know, if we need public hearings on that.
There's gonna be, they got the site plan and stuff, that's the only thing, you know, that's all planning. All right. Consent agenda. We're getting there.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
By Mark Kulos. Second by Stacy. All in favor, Mark Kulos,
Aye.
Joe? Yes for me. Greg?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yeah.
Sheila?
Yes,
Cindy? Unanimous.
Now, did the consent agenda include that additional invoice
No.
that you added?
No,
So that's,
there's no invoice yet.
Doesn't exist yet.
Doesn't, the invoice itself doesn't. exist.
the one that you sent us, there was a.
Oh, yeah, no, the extra one, no,
The-
no,
the
that
extra
was,
one.
yeah, that's on,
That's part of the consent
Yeah.
agenda.
that just got.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
The
I mean-
PDF had 0 bytes.
Yeah, it's
I
weird.
copied and pasted it from one email to another, it must have just gone haywire.
Bitch. Yeah, no, that's exactly. All right. Next thing is, and I'll need a motion, I think, at this point for an executive session for discussion regarding the RFP for interviews and potential interview schedule for architect finalists for Moriarty and Uncas School. And I'm going to include, want to include CSG, Bob, and is Mike here, or the mayor, of course, is ex officio. We can have Susan Lassard in too. And Kate can stay too, Norwich Human Services.
Thank you.
Huh?
no, who else is up on the screen?
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, Jeff would, we don't need,
But you don't see there's a.
We don't-
Well, I don't know who else is there.
Everyone's listed.
They're all
on the
listed.
side.
I'm sorry, Mark, what was that? What was that you said? Sorry.
it'll be good, Jeff, you can leave.
Oh, okay, thank you. Have a good night.
Did Mike leave? Yeah, he went to take a call, he won't come back, did he? And I don't think we need our secretary. So, I'll take, well, yeah, actually, we might. Huh?
I can get up Zoom and just wait for you to speak.
Okay,
You're gonna take a vote right after.
maybe, we'll see.
Oh, yeah,
No, I don't know.
that's fine, you know.
Doesn't really, but you might have something, who knows?
All right, you're all set, the utility?
Yes, we're good with them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jim submitted on my. Sorry.
I was just gonna
Kate-
extend it, you know.
Yeah. Kate, I mean, you can go, we don't really necessarily, I think, need you.
Okay, I'm here if you do. Have a
Okay,
good night, everybody. Hi, Cindy.
yeah, no, so we'll need a motion to include those people. By Greg Velocity,
Second,
by Sheila Hayes. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Mark Rulos.
Yes.
Joe. Yes for me. Greg.
Yes.
Stacy.
Yeah.
Sheila.
yes,
Cindy. We're now entering executive session. They kill the recording. All right. We are now out of executive session. I'm going to note that
Well, Catherine's still connecting.
no votes were taken.
she's still connected.
Hang on, we'll give Catherine a get connected. Connect.
The squirrel on the wheel there.
Pay your Wi-Fi bill.
Squirrel.
Yes.
You get squirrels all over my yard.
I
I
got
got
this.
stop eating them. I think they just got sick of the nutty taste.
It's either what's showing on the sheet or it's.
Mark, it looks like she might have to get off and back on again with
Okay.
the amount of time it's taken.
Let me kick her out.
Yeah.
I just,
Are you texting?
yeah, I just shot her.
Right?
Well,
Looks like she's.
Actually, she's in now. There we go.
okay, now you're.
Okay. So recording. All right, Does anyone want to make a motion?
No, but you have to say that your vote.
I already did that. Oh, look, we just come in, Catherine, no votes were taken, rousing executive session. Blah, blah, blah.
I'd like to make a motion
Stacy,
that we select DRA Incorporated as architects for Moriarty and the school.
is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Greg Blunt. Any discussion on the motion?
My only discussion would be to add, allow, Bob Casanova to do some clarification questions.
And I don't think that's gonna change the select.
Yeah.
Yeah, it won't change the select.
Right, so I don't think that that has to be part of the motion.
Okay. I'll withdraw
That's
that.
that's my.
Yeah, no, so Bob's gonna take care of it. Or I'll complain to John. Any other discussion on the motion?
I will say, that I support the DRA and that their work has met every reasonable expectation so far. However, I still have a preference for, at least interviewing the top three.
All right, put it to a vote. Mark Poulos,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
me, yes, Greg,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Sheila,
No,
Cindy. What do we got, 7 people here? I can't remember. Seven. 6-1. With Sheila being the lone no. All right. So, I think we gotta talk about you guys. So,
Yeah, it's
it's
not.
not an executive session. It's way to talk about schedule and stuff, so. But we don't think we have, we don't have numbers and we don't have.
I don't have them. I figured.
Okay, no, so we'll just talk about.
Yeah, in
that.
fact, what I was gonna actually say is make it Sunday. I mean, if I get them on Friday, I'm not gonna work on them over the weekend, so just get them to me.
They're so gigantic.
That might, I didn't make those.
They're the same size as mine.
I didn't make them.
What do I do? How do I show? I get a sheet.
Sunday night, so you can work on first thing in the morning.
Yes.
I need that.
So I do the. Them all in one.
I need this.
See what this-
Oh.
If you don't mind, it's everyone.
Is it blue? Is it big enough?
Doesn't matter what color it is, it's kind of like.
That's not much I work. No.
I don't need.
It's designed.
Just change the
Oh,
font.
no, it's up on me, I'm there. Sign it out.
Well, I wasn't, so I just said, oh, and then I went over them and said.
No.
No, not in the legal world. It's just-
so.
You were talking about that.
I know.
Oh, I already did.
It's all right.
got a couple.
There's so much. I mean, even course documents, that whole file.
Happy birthday.
More excitement.
Just file. I got days of walking piece of paper. That's all.
She gave you a backhoe?
No, my father.
Oh,
Okay.
so.
Still missing.
Sunday night.
You don't want it.
Voting, Mark said they needed, saying, get them those. things. That's why.
No, I didn't see that early.
Okay, that's why.
The Greenville,
You're here for Sunday night.
the Greenville invoice.
Even early Monday morning.
But I'm gonna do more.
Before you
Send it back to me, send it, email it to me.
Or I can, I'll take
I'm gonna start working on it. I get it.
special situation.
Yeah.
Official, my official.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good one. We'll see you guys
Yeah,
probably in a
so.
couple days.
So, basically, we had to talk about schedule for getting just first getting the ratings, and a couple of them are in already. I know that.
Yeah, I got it. I think 3.
Yeah, 3, okay, so you probably got Peter's too, Peter. So,
Peter was the first one.
Yeah, right.
He was like an hour after I sent the email out.
Yeah, I know.
No, I think a day. I think it took a day.
And me and-
Some of us are busy during the day.
So,
I wish I had like 10 free.
So, so when do, so I'm thinking some kind of schedule, and then I'll probably schedule a special call. So,
Can decision wait until when we need to get meeting.
we're waiting on, uncles. So, I mean, Moriarty said they have CFPs doing Moriarty.
Right.
It's only for uncles.
Yeah,
We're-
so that, the weird thing is that the architect got 2, the construction manager got 2, but the owners got 3.
Right.
So,
Well, we can.
It actually kind of works good that way.
Yeah,
Earlier, we weren't going to do.
so do we have to have a special meeting? Or can it wait until October?
I don't know, you can-
what is the urgency to have an owner's rep on board for August before October? I'm asking you, I don't.
I don't know. Timeline wise, I don't know if it's so that important. We're more worried about the first 2 schools right now.
Right, I mean, that's what I'm saying, I don't think,
Okay.
I'm just saying, for you guys, if you wanna have a special meeting,
No, I
you
mean,
might get,
I mean,
it, you know,
the
but I'm
architect.
not gonna.
Just not.
I'll be on Zoom on that.
At
I
this
mean,
stage, because the
there-
grant application's already in, so
Okay.
it will have to be amended, but that's okay. So I suppose it can wait, but so let's, you wanna give everybody, what's a day?
Yeah.
17th, your birthday on Thursday. And Monday at 8:29 is when we were originally gonna now.
But now, if you're not gonna have that, I mean,
So. Well, when we say the end of, like, by the 29th, which is Sunday, so we have
Okay.
30.
so,
So
By
we'll
the
give
30th.
everybody a break.
September 30th, 8:29.
between,
So the 29th, so you get some in,
I'll send out a reminder.
It's fine.
Right, fine.
And we've got what, 5 firms on that?
Yeah.
So half the workload with the others.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I know, I sent you out the scoring rubric.
Yes,
That's-
we-
Well, but the,
Yes.
Right.
Now, we need some
right,
modifications.
the scores come to me, do not send them to
Send them to
Mike.
Yeah, only.
Okay, yeah, only me.
Only the
Um,
CSP stores send them like.
What's that? Yeah,
CSP.
yeah, so send the scores to me, all the submittals are on mine,
Yeah.
just like all the other ones have.
So we submit them.
Yeah, the scores have to come to me. You can't send you one too.
Actually, I don't really need them. I don't really need them. I mean, I like to be nosy and see what I'm in. So I took a look at these from, Mike sent Woody had it from yesterday. You got a couple more. So, so we'll, so I had an idea. I think that would be, fine. A month is gonna hurt. So
So, I mean, it's not like somebody's gonna, start working between now and October on August.
yeah, so
Yeah,
but we definitely wanna, excuse me.
yeah.
Well, if
Definitely
we
wanna
learn
get it
something
taken
else
care of.
between now and special.
Yeah,
No, absolutely.
So-
it's not gonna.
We can move on.
Okay. So we'll do that. We'll plan for, if, we might have to have a chat about if we're gonna interview. But we can do that next week. All that kind of.
We want the evaluations.
Yeah, it's gonna, I think we gotta,
Have an
let's see what.
executive session, the next meeting, to discuss the RFPs that came back.
Right.
For
Just like we
project
did.
manager for office, and then make a decision what we're gonna do.
Right.
Unless you, deadline.
That's
All
all
right, stop saying special meetings.
Well, let me tell you something, before we're all done with all these things going simultaneously, there's gonna be
A lot.
But we'll try to organize the work, so we try to get everything done monthly basis to the best of our. So we don't wanna, let's face it, we're tip the bottle, we're all pretty much volunteers here.
Somebody else getting paid?
Huh?
I'm
Yeah.
getting a check.
Well, maybe it's,
Not me.
so it's,
How much is $100 check divided by how many hours?
I'm saying we're looking at violation of the minimum wage laws or something like that. All right, so anyway, that's enough talking on the recorded meeting. Yes, I think we are. Is there anything else that needs to come before the committee?
Motion to adjourn.
I guess not. Second, a motion by Stacy, second by Cindy. Mark Kulos.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Ray.
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Sheila.
Yeah.
Cindy. It is 9:04 PM. Thank